Hello, everyone. I'm Ellen Quinn. I'm the current chair of QMD. Welcome to the Wise and Calm Leadership, where timeless principles meet today's challenges. This is in the conference track, Process Excellence. Dr. Hung Lee is our speaker. A little housekeeping for this session. The session track is 45 minutes in length. Questions and answers we'll have at the end of the session. And please enter your questions in the chat window. Depending on the number of questions, we may not get a chance to get to all of them, but Dr. Lee will have his contact information if you want to reach him afterwards. Okay, thank you, and over to you, Dr. Lee.
Okay, well, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I want to share with you a little bit about myself, not so much about the past, so many years, but just recent, in the last 3 years. I retired 3 years ago, and I really don't have. I wasn't working, and so I have a lot of free time to think about things. And this is one topic that I think is near and dear to my heart, and I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress, and I'm work in progress. And, when I was working, I always came home and always feel like I'm exhausted. I am so tired. My candles are burned on both ends. And I always feel like in that state of mind, I don't receive things well. I'm stressed, and a lot of the kind of training that I went through at work is really more external focus, and it's less about me, the individual. And I have to say that I spent a lot of time managing the task, managing the work, and I spent time managing people too. But there's very little time that I manage myself. Okay, now you heard Dr. Dalal talk yesterday about the mindset, and a lot of people or keynote speakers are talking about um, um, self-development and so on. And I would say that there's a need for more of a focus on us individually, and I will explain. So the things that I want to really focus on today for the agenda is, number one, I want to explain in terms of why it's important to focus on the self. Okay, you may hear a lot of talks about mindfulness, but I feel like mindfulness is not enough. We need to take it broader and look at the entire Eightfold Path that's been around for like 2,000 years. Okay, and I want to really take that and make the case for how each of us need to really spend the time and focus on ourselves. And I'll say more about that. Then what I want to do is introduce the Eightfold Path as a framework. Okay, and the framework can be used by a CEO running a company. The framework can be used by a worker, an employee, a manager, a leader of an organization. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can always make use of the framework. And then I've done some research, and I want to pull in, cases where I can map it back to how people are using the framework, and either they use it correctly and they apply them and they are successful at what they do, or they fail because they did not think about one aspect of the Eightfold Path. And then at the end, I will give you some tips on how to apply it. Okay, so those are the three main things I want to do. So, all right, now, I don't need to say a lot about the challenges because you are experiencing right now The biggest thing right now is the whole geopolitical economic uncertainty. And second to that is really the whole AI revolution. And that's going to drive a lot of disruption. Okay. And that's going to impact the people, the social economics and the markets and so on. So leaders are facing a very complex landscape, right, with challenges, including all of those things. And they must navigate, how to best leverage of AI and maintain employee engagement, right? Address burnout, uh, particularly people at the front line. And it's important to really think about how you go about building trust, uh, fostering this inclusive leadership, and adapting your leadership style as appropriate so that you can drive the organization to really help the organization thrive in the future. Okay. So I don't know about you, but there are so many books, like I said before, written about from learning about empathy to, from good to great, start with why. So there's a lot out there, lots of books and YouTube video that you can watch. And in my view, they all tackle certain aspects of skills that you you can improve on. Okay. So in my mind, and you don't have to agree with all my viewpoint here. I just want to share you how I felt about it when I was in the workforce, and I start reading and start learning a lot. And there's not a cohesive framework in my mind. So that's what I want to really. I hope to be able to introduce you to something that you would feel like it could be applied to any circumstances, right? And remember, it's been around for like thousands of years. The credential focus now is even more so the emphasis on certification. You go and you need a skill set, you go and you take a certificate for that. Um, and oftentimes it does not translate to transformation, right? How you change the way you see things and the behavior, the way you talk, the way you interact with people, and so on. And then this missing link, and I call a unified approach to inner and outer alignment. And you'll hear me talk a lot about the inner alignment. That's very, very critical because and by the way, when you think about system thinking as an individual a person, I am a system, right? So as a system, if my system is unstable and I start to interact with the outside world, whether I interact with people around me, I interact with the environment, I work with teams, and so on and so forth, right? And if my system is still unstable, you know that I'm not going to be effective when I engage. And if you are familiar with the whole concept of uh, process improvement, you know that you cannot improve an unstable system. You need to be able to stabilize your system so that you can be more effective, right? So imagine this Ferrari looks beautiful, great engine, goes very fast, right? 0 to 60 in a matter of seconds. Uh, but if it's not internally aligned, like the wheels are not aligned, the steering wheel doesn't work well, and a bunch of other things, the seating is just off, right? All those misalignment is gonna cause the Ferrari to go in the direction that you may not want it to be. Okay. And by the way, in the past, I have talked a lot about organizational alignment, and it's such a critical part of an organization. But now I'm going even further. I'm saying that look at your own system, your self individual system, And if it's not misaligned, the way you see things is going to be very different, and that could cause a lot of could put a lot of stress on you yourself, and the fact that you're not optimal in the way you're not prepared to take on things that is externally focused. Okay, and I give you this very simple analogy that you can think about. I work with someone, and I met them. Actually, the first time I met, I didn't have a very good vibe with this individual, right? I mean, this high school student, and the way he dressed, the way he talked, I didn't have I put my judgment on it right away. But when I met with his parents, um, I found out that, hey, a while back with this evacuation from um, from a communist country, all of his families, 11 members of his family died, right? And then his parents are adopting him. So when I get that fact, suddenly my mind shifted and I feel a lot more empathy toward him, right? Just that one single piece of information caused me to think differently about the individual. So that just tells you that we are in a mode of reacting a lot based on new information coming in. And so the more grounded you are, the more you are tied down to your goals and what you're trying to do, you're less distracted by external things that you are experiencing. So that's why it's so critical in thinking about the inner alignment. So I pull this leadership because I'm trying to bridge the Eastern philosophy with the Western practice. Here are some things that I resonate very well with what some of the Eastern philosophers are talking about, right? The Greek philosopher talks about it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, right? Similarly, Viktor Frankl, this is one of the famous quotes that you probably heard before. Between a stimulus and a response lies our freedom to choose. Now, if there's not this space in between and you constantly react to it, one would wonder whether it's really a choice for you to pick, because you're subconsciously you are reacting to things and it may not be a choice, right? So that's where he talks about, between a stimulus and response lies this space here that you can choose an appropriate action. Brene Brown, integrity, you choose courage over comfort. Warren Buffett even talk about you can't control situation, but you can control your reactions, right? So all these are kind of aligned with what I am talking about anyway. So most leadership model, as I discussed already, are kind of focus outward, right? On behavior, on communication, on strategy. But few actually address this internal alignment that I'm talking about. So this inner alignment, is really there's this deeper leadership alignment focus needs, because again, if you fine tune your engine, then when you interact with the external world, you know what the right things are. When you see when you see the right view, the right perspective, then things become clear in focus on what's important to you, and making sure that your actions are aligned to those things that's important to you, right? And there's 8 ways here. If you recall in Lean, we talked about the 7 ways, and we add 8 ways for the fact that, if you don't use people resource in the right way, then it's a waste, right? You're not leverage of the person's skill set, then it's a total waste. But here I'm also embedded in here this called so the 8 ways. That is, if you optimize your internal system, that's what I call the untapped human potential, right? That still is the remain the greatest resource, because when your internal system are not optimized, um, you are gonna be distracted easily. You are gonna, you are gonna say things that's gonna cause conflict. That's gonna cause chaos within the organization, and then you're gonna have to spend a lot of time try to mend the relationship that was ruined. Okay, misalignment challenge is about making sure that you can optimize, you maximize the system flow so you can actually connect your values to your intention, and hence that's going to drive the right actions with the right effort. So the later on you're going to see that how all those things are playing together, and it doesn't follow a sequence per se, but a lot of times if you're grounded in values, and let's say when you go to a meeting, if your intention is not to have the right focus or not to build stronger bonds and building trust, then the words that's going to come out of you is going to be very different, right? You're going to take a different sets of actions, as opposed to when you come into a meeting and you intend to really build trust, create a relationship, have a more productive work environment. All right, now, so what I'm gonna show here, you can see that there are a lot of things here, but the self is going to be, it's like a system with inputs and outputs. Okay, the inputs are coming in, the sets of value, and if you hold dear to your heart and you live by your values, that's going to create a corresponding sets of thoughts that's going to drive your emotion, how you feel about things, and then it's going to drive this appropriate actions that as you interact with your environment and the people within your community, right? So there's input and there's output, period. So the inner harmony is very, very key. The self-awareness precedes all effective leadership, because if you're not aware of your own action and you kind of flip-flop on how to do certain things, you're going to lose trust. Yeah, people are going to lose trust in you, right? So it's important to kind of have this alignment of thoughts, which will give rise to appropriate words and actions. Okay, and it starts with the right view and understanding. Just like I said, the analogy I gave early on about having the right view and understanding is very important, because that's going to give you clarity in what to do, where you should focus your effort, right? Clear perception create better decision, because now you have a clear path to what needs to get done. And intentional leadership start with that mindset. The intention is very important. Uh, I learned when I went to Europe for like 8 months, and I studied this Tai Chi. And this one thing that the teacher told me that really resonates so much with me. And he said, don't just move your body. Focus on your intention about what you're gonna do. And automatically that movement will follow. So you can see the physical action will follow your thoughts, right? So intentional leadership is very, very key. Now, outward expression, of course, as the internal, you're happy internally, there's inner alignment. It manifests in external result, right? That's what authentic influence stem from self-mastery, being able to understand yourself well, be able to control your emotion, being able to speak the right words, and having the right actions. Okay, hope that makes sense so far. All right, now I'm going to say something that that I don't know whether you agree or not, but you know, when this AI revolution came about with the Chat GPT, I heard so much discussion about generative AI and how AI system hallucinate. Right now, you ask yourself, do you generate a lot of thoughts? Do you constantly produce ideas, beliefs, perspective that shape your reality and that may not be grounded on truth, right? And from those thoughts, do you actually create feelings that influence how you experience, and how does it impact the way you respond in situations, right? And then all that judgment. So it does shape your actions. All that internal narratives would dictate how you move through the external world. It influences the relationship that you have. You know, there are a lot of assumptions made, and that's how you will connect and how you respond to others based on those assumptions that you made in your head, right? It's going to guide decisions. It's going to create, and it could create problems, right? When you leave it unchecked, all that internal generations, it often causes your greatest challenge. Okay, so I call this the generative human intelligence versus the generative AI. So they hallucinate and we hallucinate too. And in fact, uh, I would claim to say that consciousness is something that cannot be replaced by a very advanced machine, meaning consciousness is defined as be able to be aware of your own emotions, your activities, your thinking, and be able to change it, right? I mean, machines cannot do that, at least not for now. But they hallucinate because they don't have the information. And believe it or not, we just as much hallucinate. And the important thing is when the inner system is aligned, we are better equipped to positively influence the external system, including design of AI system. Okay. So I want to really get you to think about this, and I hope I have convinced you that really the most powerful system in the world is the human system, right? And if you want to elevate any organizations, any community, any society, we must elevate ourselves first. And the human system is the foundation to all of that. So in my mind, the external impact should begin with internal alignment. Because if you don't, then it's gonna be it's gonna be it's gonna be what it is based on how your mind thinks and the thoughts that comes with that, and that's gonna result in the way you speak, the way you work, the way you engage with the external environment. All right, I hope I have convinced you of that. All right, now I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of discuss this noble A path. And it's based on Buddhist, but if you know Buddhism well, it's really a philosophy. It's not a religion. So I'm not trying to bring religion here, but you look at this A path, it's been around for 2,000 years plus, and it's been using throughout the Buddhist history as a practical guide for cultivating wisdom, right? First, wisdom, how you see things, how your understanding of things, uh, and then that's going to help shape your mental discipline, which would drive your ethical conduct, right? It's so it's really dependent on what you want to be, and that's how you actually can program yourself, right? It serves as a roadmap for individuals and community seeking a more meaningful and fulfilling life. And so the last few years of my work, last 5 to 10 years, I would say I tend to focus more on working on my self-awareness. But I think it's lacking these 7 other elements that you really have to think it through, and that's going to be very helpful. So this is what it is, and I'm going to step through what this path, each of the element stand for. Okay, so as a grouping, I call it WISE and CALM, and you know how professionals in continuous improvement always look for framework and look for ways for you to remember. It's WISE and CALM, right? WISE and CALM leadership. Y stand for wisdom, interaction, speech, effort, and CALM stand for concentration, action, livelihood, and mindfulness. Okay, so mindfulness is just one piece of this. If you recall, I said that. So and it's grouping under this 3 category called knowledge, understanding, and that's going to shape your mental discipline, and then that result in ethical conduct, right? So wisdom, bottom line, see the situation as it is, right? No judgment. See it clearly and truthfully. You can see that it's hard to have clarity if your mental state is not stable, right? Next is intention. Intention, direct attention. So leaders with the right intention act with purpose, compassion, and ethical resolve, right? Not selfish ambition. So it really sets a tone for the kind of decision that she's going to make, the relationship that they want to build, the culture of the organization. So without clear intention, leadership becomes very reactive and perhaps manipulative as well. Okay. My mouse, into my mouse. Okay. In speech, again, because speech will shape trust. You say one thing, you do another thing, or you say things that are insulting. It's hard to build trust that way, right? The right speech means being truthful, constructive, kind, mindful of the timing. Sometimes it's the right thing to say, but it's not the right moment. You hold back, right? Leaders who practice this, build psychological safety. It prevent conflicts. It's inspiring. What you say, how you say things, define your leadership character. Okay, and then the right effort. Okay, apply energy toward positive outcome. Because progress requires discipline, and you gotta have the right energy, focusing on things that matters most to you or to the organization. Something that's not causing harm. Leaders need to stay focused on values, right? Align goals, avoid burnout, and it fosters resilience within yourself and your teams, right? And then the second part of this is I call the CALM characteristics, and it starts with concentration. So it's easy to know, distraction destroy clarity, right? If you're easily distracted, there's no way you're going to focus on the right things. Right concentration enables a deep focus on decision quality, right? You're making good decisions, and you can regulate and control your emotion. And especially in this age of AI and information overload, the ability to concentrate is a superhuman character or traits for leaders, right? And then with all that mental discipline, now it's about the right actions or the appropriate action. Uh, you know, leaders are defined by their behaviors, right? The right actions could be it's got to be ethical. We're talking about ethical conduct, not harming others, acting justly, align behaviors with the principles, and they are being judged by what they do, not just what they say, right? So you can see that there's an interplay between the speech and the action that you are going to take, and then the livelihood. Where is my the livelihood? um, and that has to do with the practices. Does it create value? Because your work should reflect your values. The right livelihood means engaging in work that is ethically sound, right? And it contributes to the well-being of every single employee. Leaders will need to really focus on this. So, and then lastly, the mindfulness, right? Maintain awareness of the present realities. So you can see that without mindfulness, without this sense of awareness, it's hard to build the wisdom. It's hard to know where you should focus your effort. It's hard to know what the right things are to do, whether it's timely or not, whether it's the right thing to say, and your own actions. Okay. And so I just want to share this. So this is kind of a holistic approach. I would challenge you to go out there and take any kind of issue that you're thinking about resolving, and see how it plays into this eightfold path. Okay, so it's really helpful as a holistic approach for decision making, for building strong teams, for building excellent organizational culture. So when it's applied consistently, it's really about cultivating, authentic leadership, right? That inspire trust and drive sustainable success. All right, so now I know I'm still at the mark of 14 minutes to go, but I will hopefully give you some time so you can ask some questions here. But here are some it's not the case here. The case studies here, it's not about the case study. It's about how some of the leaders that has either succeeded or failed because they violate, or they support, or they live by one of these traits. Okay, so let me start with the W.I.S.E. So in a W.I.S.E, there's this wisdom, the whole strategic understanding. I'd say, Howard Schultz. I know that if you, I don't work for them, but I do get a chance to kind of speak to some of them. But they love some of the the things that they are experiencing at work. Because Howard Schultz believe in customer experience, and to drive customer experience, he really believed that the best way to do that is focus on your people, right? Developing your people, treat your people right, and fostering an inclusive environment. And the failure, from a strategic understanding, from a wisdom, there's clear leadership failure to anticipate digital photography. In fact, they actually came up with they patented, they came up with the technology, but they cling to the traditional film products, which result in market declines and then bankruptcy. Okay, so here are some of the things that you can think a little bit and expand on this. But this person from Comin Bank really want to focus and help the people in the poverty population through microloans, and they want to empower this underserved. So they launched this global microfinance movement. and that has been tremendous. It's been very helpful, and that target a specific needs there. Failure, I'm sure you heard this, Enron, case of Enron about personal gain over ethics, engaging in fraudulent activities that destroy the company and shareholder trust. So now it's about the speech. Again, Nelson Mandela, if you listen to him talking, right, in all his speech, he used a very inclusive rhetoric to unite both apartheid South Africa. The company that failed, Volkswagen, misled regulators about emission, right? And resulting in legal penalties and damaged reputation. And by the way, I don't have time to go through all the cases. I actually left it in the backup slide. You will get a copy of this. We'll figure out how to do that. But there are more. And in fact, one of those things, an interesting case study about the Tylenol crisis in 1982, in how that company didn't focus on profit and focus on safety of people first. And as a result, it cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to do 100% recall on all their drugs. And then as a result, they were able to recover and build their brand, rebuild their brand. Now, I won't argue about the personality of Elon Musk, but you must say that you must give him credit for relentless drive to really bring about electric vehicle. Without him, probably, the EV movement probably wouldn't happen, right? He overcame a lot of criticism. Failure, blockbusters, think that it's status quo, complacency, we didn't know how to leverage of digital streaming and always thinking about, oh yeah, we need, well, our business is to loan out to rent CDs. But they were wrong, right? It's really about, their business is about delivering digital content. And when you rephrase as that, it's another solution. Okay, that's why Netflix came and actually took it over. And then Steve Jobs, product strategy. And I really love his quote. He's the guy that didn't think that voice to the customer is not sufficient, right? It's necessary, but not sufficient. In fact, he said that if all they hear, listen to the voice of the customer, the next thing that the customer want, the next thing that they build, the customer is somewhere else. Okay, so you got to go beyond just listen to the voice of the customer. You got to preempt the needs and be able to come up with needs even before the customer think about. Yahoo pursue really diverse venture without a coherent strategy. As a result, they fell out of place. Right Action, Ray Anderson from Interface committed to sustainability, transforming the company. And then the other aspects of it is Wells Fargo took the wrong turn, create unauthorized accounts to meet sales target and so on for short-term gain, short-term profit. And the result, they had to pay a lot of fines and loss of trust. And the last one here is, last two is about right livelihood. I don't know if you read much about Indra Nooyi, who was the former CEO of PepsiCo, really humanistic leader who actually really emphasized the whole performance with purpose, people-oriented, and integrated the whole sustainability and health into their core mission. And as a result, she was well loved, had a lot of trust within the company, and she was able to really take the company and be able to grow it significantly. And then I'm sure you heard about Theranos under Elizabeth Holmes. Success, self-awareness, Okay, so let me take, gosh, I wish I have more time, but let me just share with you a few things here. These are the kind of questions that you can ask. So it's going to help you ground it. So if you look at how to build the right view and understanding, so far in those scenario, I talked about large company leadership, running large organizations and so on. But you can apply it at even at your individual activity, right? I mean, when you engage with someone, when you're in a meeting and you're talking about trying to analyze a problem, you can ask, am I seeing the full picture before you even make the decision? Are you reacting to one part? What assumptions are you making? What are the long-term implications of the decision, right? And then on in right intention, what's motivating you right now? Is it fear, ego? Is it empathy? Is it purpose? Is your intention aligned with your values for the greater good? Are you trying to do the right things or just trying to win? Um, will your words build trust or damaging it? Are you being truthful, kind, constructive? Is it the right time, place, and tone for what you need to say? Right? All those things are time where you need to pause, especially on hard, difficult situations. And then, are you able to direct your energy to meaningful things that you do? Are you putting energy where it matters? What's most important to you? Is this effort leading to growth, or is it keeping you just busy, right? And not productive? What's unhelpful habits that you need to let go? Okay, let me just wrap up because I know I want to give some time. But these are questions that's gonna hopefully help you, cultivate this inner calm, inner traits that will radiate outward is going to be very helpful, right? Like concentration, are you fully present? Are you focused? Um, and then on an action is just fair, honest, respectful to all involved. Does it cause harm? The livelihood? Are you contribute to the well-being of yourself and everyone else around you? Does it reflect your value? Does it create positive impact and so on? And then mindfulness, are you aware? Awareness is really key here. Are you aware of your what's going on around you, how you act, how you react, what patterns, are you upset at something, and what's driving that, right? And then here are some of the daily practice. I mean, anytime you have a moment, take a pause, think about, you know, meditation is certainly is the key thing here. And by the way, if you remember, Yuval Harari wrote the 21 principles of leadership principles in the 21st century, really talked a lot about the two important skills that you need in this AI era, and that is mental stability and emotional intelligence. So this is how you can bring about that, right? Reflective journaling, end of day review, and mind mastery. And then in the end here, this is what I want to say in this age obsessed with artificial intelligence. Let's not focus on the limitless potential of authentic intelligence. Okay, the human mind fully aware and fully aligned and fully engaged. And that's how you can actually have the optimal system to engage with the world around you. So thank you. I stop here.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Are there any questions? We probably have time for one. I know we had lots of people. Everyone loved your presentation, Dr. Lee. One question someone did ask, what is your favorite leadership book?
I keep going back to Jim Collins from Good to Great. It's a classic, and the one phrase I love most is that he said, in an organization, you need disciplined people with disciplined thoughts who can carry out disciplined actions. It kind of align with what I'm talking about here too. You got to have discipline, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And we can post this now to the conference site. I did talk to the tech folks and they fixed the issue, so we'll post a copy, the final copy. We can post it to the main home lobby. So I
Great.
thank you very much, Dr. Lee. I think that's all we have time for. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you as always.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Ellen. Thanks everyone for participating.
thank you.
Bye-bye.